Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed into law the Independent Police Investigative Directorate Amendment Bill. The bill aims to restructure and ensure the independence of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. The amendment bill stems from a constitutional court order in the matter between former IPID boss Robert McBride and then Police Minister Nkosinathi Nhleko. It comes after McBride was suspended in March of 2015 over his alleged involvement in the illegal rendition of the 5 Zimbabwean murder suspects. The Concord ruled that certain provisions of the IPID Act were invalid and incompatible with the Constitution in that they unlawfully extend the minister's powers. The Apex Court ordered Parliament to correct the defects within 24 months. Now, the bill was approved by the Cabinet for introduction in Parliament in May of 2023. The updated legislation amends provisions relating to the appointment of the Executive Director of IPID and also empowers the IPID to investigate deaths caused by the police or municipal police, whether such an officer is on or off duty.
The new law entrenches the institutional and operational independence of the IPID and makes it clear that the Directorate must be independent, impartial, and must exercise its powers and functions without fear, favor, or prejudice.
Right, let's bring in the South African Policing Union National Spokesperson, Lesiba Thobakgale, who joins in this conversation. Lesiba, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. This is legislation which essentially empowers and affirms IPID to now investigate serious alleged offences committed by police officers, whether they were off duty or not. What is your reaction to this?
Thank you so much for having us. Good evening to yourself. We clearly, from the South African Policing Union, we participated in a form of going to even give our inputs when the amendment bill was up through the parliamentary processes. We went to the portfolio committee and we've given our inputs, and it is safe for us to say that we have seen that after the president has signed the act into law today, we clearly have seen that most of our inputs indeed are finding expression. An example that goes to section 4A, which speaks about the independence of IPID institutionally and also operationally, which is quite important because IPID as an institution, they really have to act and make sure that they do their job independently and they are able to clearly operate for them to execute their mandate. And also, we have also seen our input that we gave in terms of section 4.3, which speaks about the impartiality of the Directorate, which is quite important because as and when they are investigating allegations that are there against the police, they have to make sure that they are doing that without any form of due influence coming from any direction, because they are carrying that mandate to ensure that at the end of the day, they get to the bottom of the investigations. And further to that, we also have seen in terms of Section 8 of the Act, where clearly it speaks about the security clearance certificate, or which comes up after the vetting thereof, which in its nature we had hoped that it would have the issues of timeframes involved, because if one comes to be employed within the Directorate itself, and you find that the clearance is not done as we understand the backlog that government has when it comes to the issues of issuing clearance certificates.
Let me ask you this, if you'll allow me just to interrupt you. With the Amendment Act providing now for pre-employment security screening investigations to be conducted, what challenges do fall away with that process, and what loopholes have resulted in the process being problematic to even begin with?
The challenge is clearly it goes to the backlog that the state has when it comes to the issues of issuing clearance certificates, because in most cases it is the vetting that gets to be done, and through the vetting you need to go deeper to ensure that at the end of the day, whoever that gets appointed, this person indeed there is nothing untoward that could be found on them. They are able to go and execute their duties, because remember, IPID IPID investigating the police, even they themselves, they have to do that without any form of reproach. So that is why we are saying from our side, we would have our input included the issue of the time frames, because we know it takes up to a longer period. Some, they get clearance certificates after 3 years or after a longer period, which that on its own, it really is becoming problematic, because you need to be sure that the people whom are there to investigate the police, they are really indeed cleared, because clearance certificate is quite important to make sure that they are fit for the purpose in regards to that part.
We cannot deny that the IPID plays a critical role in criminal justice proceedings by ensuring the investigations against the police are carried out effectively. With the low levels of public trust in police, how effective do you think this bill will be in instilling public trust and confidence within the communities?
We strongly believe from our side, the SAPU, that because then it is reaffirming, more especially their independence, and even when it comes to IPID itself being able to operate. It doesn't only have to end the bill. The issue of capacitating IPID, we remember as well, it is still also a challenge to say in terms of resources coming from the human capital and also physical resources for them to do the job. That is still also, it boils back to the issues of budget, because sometimes you may have an act that is quite good, that is quite giving, powers to for IPID to operate. But if at the end of the day, they are not able to be fully resourced, then they will not be able to do their job. And also another important amendment that we have seen, it relates to Section 23, which also touches on the conditions of service, because the current state, it only spoke about to say that the Minister of Police in consultation will go and consult the Minister of Finance to look at how can they deal with issues of remuneration and allowances and so on. Our problem that we have with that part as an organization is clear that the issue of collective bargaining is not inclusive there. And remember, as a union, we stand for the rights of the workers, because those IPID members, they are also workers, and they also have a right to collective bargaining. We don't have a problem with the minister getting to consult with the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Police consulting with the Minister of Finance, but that should be as well at the backdrop of collective bargaining, because it was just mentioned to say that it has to be the remuneration, it goes according to the level of a detective, it's equated up to that level. So that is why we are saying that what we would have loved to have seen is collective bargaining, which is quite important within the labor sphere as it applies even within the IPID environment.
The new bill is said now, some critics have argued that it opens up the contentious question of leadership and accountability in South Africa's criminal justice institutions, and also concerns around political interference, which may become personal. What is your take on that discomfort?
Now, we don't foresee it taking that direction, because if you could remember clear with the first section that we started under Section 4, which then relates, it gives us a background of the Constitutional Court judgment, clearly, which goes to what happened with the McBride's case at that time. Now, if indeed there is parliamentary processes that are also involved when it comes to the issues that relates to whether there's hiring, or there's also allegations that are there against the executive authority within the IPID environment. Then there's other processes that should follow. It is not only solely left upon the issue of one person who will just decide that this is what one should do, because the Constitutional Court has been clear to say what should clearly happen. So we really don't see it indeed being problematic, because at the end of the day, one has to abide by the laws that are applicable within the Republic of South Africa, whether being it the labor laws or being it any prescripts that are there within different types of institutions, being it in the police and being it as well within the IPID environment.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion.